Hi, I am recording this from the basement of my church, and everything is echoey and weird because, the church is empty on a random weekday afternoon. But it is the beginning of the school year, which means that it is the beginning of the adventure year, which means it is time for a new bulletin board. So this is last year's, and I'm going to show you a little bit about it, and then I'm going to start putting up my new one, and I want to show you some tricks that I use and also show you what my bulletin board looks like, and I hope maybe it gives you some ideas as well. So come along with me. So this is my bulletin board from last year. Our theme for our conference was transformed, and so it all kind of goes with that. If this looks interesting to you, whether it fits what you're doing this year or not, it is available at Laura's Adventure Resources, and if you want it, it's there for you. So this is basically how it looked. There was some contact information over here, which for obvious reasons I removed before I started recording. My plan was to make sure that I put up pictures. That's why there's a lot of empty spaces. There's plenty of room to put up pictures of the kids this year. And I would love to tell you that I just took them down before I started recording because I won't be putting their pictures up on YouTube. But I'm going to be honest with you and tell you it didn't happen this year. It didn't. I wish it did, but it didn't. So this year I am actually going to put up pictures that we took last year fairly early on in the year, and then hopefully I'll trade them out, but at least we'll have some pictures up. So this is what it looks like right now. I'm going to pull everything down other than my backing, which this is just felt. This is, a yard or two of just straight craft felt, which I love. I highly recommend it if you're trying to figure out what to put on your back for your bulletin boards. It works really well. I'm gonna pull all these up, and it's not going to leave major holes. So all I do is rub it a little bit, and you can't even see something was stapled there. So I really love using felt. The one negative to felt is that it can be a little hard to staple through. And in my church, everything is required to be up with staples. So that was rough in the beginning, but I figured out how to get through that. When I started out, I was using staplers from the church. In fact, I went around trying all the different staplers. Some were better than others, but they're all terrible. And I will show you as I go what I use now, because whatever I use now works great. So if you are looking for a backdrop, I highly recommend felt. As you can see, it wears really well. I've had this up for probably 3 or 4 years now, and it still looks great. I am preparing to put up the new one, and so the first thing that I did, and I recommend you do this as well for a bulletin board, is I laid everything out here. I've got all the pieces laying out. Now, some of them aren't laying out as well as I'd like because the tables are just not long enough. But this way I know where everything goes, and it makes it a lot easier when I go to put it up on the board. So I do recommend that. It's the first thing that I recommend is that you lay it all out somewhere, find a big surface that you can lay out all your pieces, because it'll be much easier to put them up on your bulletin board than figuring it out while you're holding everything vertically. So I don't have any great ways to measure here. I could grab a very long piece of tape or maybe some string to figure out my center, but fortunately I had my center figured out from last year. So what I did was, as you can see, I've already put up my center piece before I've started taking down the rest. I did admittedly start taking it down, and then I went, oh, wait, use last year's work. So that's what I'm doing. My T is currently sitting right here, and I'm going to pull that up in just a moment. I've only have it tacked up here right now, and I will keep pulling things down. But that way I don't have to figure out again where the center of my board is. Alas, there is a screw at the top, but unfortunately it's not at the center of the board. Yeah, I learned that a couple years ago. But this is about right, and so I will take it from here and we'll see how it goes. I don't know yet. All right, I have the board. It's basically empty except for the top. The whole top part is now done, and all the way across, I can now say with certainty that my T is not exactly in the center, but it's pretty close. It's about that far off. So that's fine. Definitely good enough for what I need. The next thing to do is going to be to take care of this bottom border. Now, in an ideal world, this would be one long piece, that would be great, because then we just roll it across, staple it, and cut it at the end. Which, when you buy a border, that's what you're going to do. But in this case, we want a custom border that we can print on our printers, in which case we are, of course, limited by the size of our printer. My printer, the biggest it does, is an 8.5 by 11, like most of you. I guess it could do A4, but I don't have A4 in a cardstock. So anyway, so I'm going to show you what I do to make this kind of flow along. I'm going to use a lot of staples, and I'm going to use some painter's tape. So that's what we're going to do next. All right, so the part of this that has the verse is 4 panels across. So I'm actually going to want to put my center of my board right here. I know from what is currently on my board that I need 9 of these, not quite 9 full ones, but because I have 4 in the middle, I'm guessing I might actually need 10, and I'm just going to be cutting a lot off on the sides. I don't know yet. We'll just see what happens. So here's what I'm going to do. Before I put it anywhere near my bulletin board, I'm actually going to come along and I'm going to tape it. So as you can see, I just used some painter's tape, stuck it right there. And then when I put it up, I will make sure that I staple both sides, but this will kind of help hold it together, and it'll also make it so it's closer to seamless. Obviously there is a seam there, but it's a little bit less obvious than it could be. And I'm dealing with small pieces like letters that I want to be kind of spaced equally and lined up and everything. I like to set them up here on the table because flat surfaces are always easier to work with. And then I just run painter's tape across. In fact, in just a moment, you're going to see a whole bunch of painter's tape. All right, here it currently is. Now, like I said before, I used lots of painter's tape. And one of the really handy things about this is that I have been spending the last 5 minutes playing with how I have this set up and deciding how I want it. Do I want you are mine all in a row, or do I want it like this? And all those sorts of things. And because it is just tape and I haven't stapled anything, I can do that. And then down here, I am doing this by myself. And so it is a long piece to kind of work with. So I went along and I have tape holding it together so it is in the right spot. And hopefully when I go to staple it, I will still find it in the right spot. I did have a teenager who offered to come and help, and I probably should have taken him up on it, but I think this will work. Now, I will say that the painter's tape works really great, provided that you are following some basic rules. So all of my stuff is laminated, you can see by the shine, and again, my background is fabric. If you did not laminate your stuff, and many people do not, and that's totally fine, but if you didn't laminate it, if your background is paper, I wouldn't really recommend the painter's tape because I'm afraid that it would possibly tear it. It might not, because I do put tape, painter's tape on regular paper. You, of course, want to be much more gentle with it. But I would definitely be concerned about paper here because that stuff just seems kind of fragile. But if your materials that you're working with can handle the tape, I do recommend it because it is very handy to be able to play with it and like step back and look and be like, is that straight? Now, I don't know if it's straight. Feel free to leave a comment telling me if it is or not. But what I have decided and what I encourage you to also decide is that perfection is not what we're going for here. So it probably won't be totally straight, but it will be up. And done is far more important than perfect. So that is what we're aiming for today. All right, it is time to staple. So this is the staple gun that I use. This is just an easy shot and I love it. It works really well. And again, I haven't had any issues since I started using this. This is such a huge improvement over the stapler that I was using from just random ones around the church. So I'm just gonna come around here and hope it works right. Hey, look at that. So I'm going to go and I'm going to staple all of this board. I have done the top, but I only have 2 staples in each. So I'm definitely going to be adding more staples to that too, because this board I want to stay up for the entire year. So I want to make sure that it is all very solid. All right, the board is done other than adding, pictures and things like that. But the basic board is all up. It is all stapled. and it is ready for Sabbath morning and for adventures next week. Can't believe that it is already a new year. So a couple of things that I did on this. My board is certainly not the right size for these to fit perfectly, and I decided it looked a little bit better to have something over here. This is just a blank panel here on the edge, and I held it up here, and I just made a little mark right here, and then I took my paper trimmer to it, and I did the same thing on this one. And although I guess it makes sense, I didn't realize when I was printing, but this panel and the one in front of the A are the same. It's just opposite sides of it, so that actually worked really well. And then I have it stapled here, and then I have my very favorite painter's tape right back here holding it on, because since it is going right up to the metal, it was flopping just a tiny bit. So I did that, and down here, there is just a little edge right here. I cut that with scissors once I had it up. Measuring it and cutting it would be better, but that's not really how I roll. This side, I'm gonna tell you, I was like, ooh, I wonder if I could hold my paper trimmer up and do it. And you know what? It totally worked. So I did that over here. It didn't work very well on the other side for the simple reason that this side is just so short that it really didn't work. So I did use scissors on it. And it's not perfectly straight, but it's pretty good. And I don't think anyone's going to be staring at my bottom border all that much. So, and then we have the verse right here, and that is it. It is done. And I'm really pleased with that. I'm excited about it. And I can't wait to get some pictures up in all of these blank spaces. If you are working on a bulletin board, I would be so excited to hear about what you are doing for yours. And if you have any tips and tricks for how you put up your bulletin board with as little paint as possible, please leave a comment down below. I would love to hear from you, and I would love to learn from you. Everything I know about bulletin boards is because, somebody told me what to do. So I am always learning, and I love hearing from you, and I love getting ideas. So I would be just so excited. If you are wanting this particular bulletin board, it will be available at Laura's Adventure Resources. It will be available in this very large size, but it will also be available in 2 smaller sizes. So one will be about half this size, and then the next one will be about half that size. So this is the big, and then there'll be a medium and a small. So these right here, these panels take about a full sheet of paper. I recommend not printing edge to edge, which is actually how they're designed. It does a little bit better, a little bit smaller. So at least on my printer. So each of these is about a page. So the medium will be half a page for each of the letters, and then the small will be 4 letters to a page. So if you're looking for that, you'll find those at Laura's Adventure Resources, and I will have a link down below. As soon as the printables are all ready, these letters right here will be available in a cut file for those of you who have a machine who can cut them. Specifically, they are ready for a silhouette. If you have a cutting machine other than a silhouette and you would like cut files for your machine, leave a message. Let's talk. I would love to make something available for you as well, but I need you to teach me what you need. So let me know what that is, and we'll see what we can do. But I would love to learn, and I love being able to provide files that meet your needs. So just leave me a comment and tell me what you need. Anyway, to all of you, I hope that the beginning of your year, if you are at the beginning of the year, is going smoothly. I hope that your clubs are full of excited kids and so many volunteers. And I hope that everything is going great for you. I look forward to chatting with you again soon. Bye.